Hello everybody, Bmerica here with another video for you. Today I am going to show you some of the simple circuits that I use in order to make some of my more complex builds like the elevators back there. So the way I'm going to do this is start off with the simple things, and then as we work up it'll get a little bit more and more complex as we go. Although none of these circuits are really too complex because I kind of broke them down into their simplest forms. So the first one is just the inverter. It just flips your signal, so whenever this torch is powered, it'll turn off the signal. Whenever it's not powered, it'll turn on the signal. And then here we have the burnout clock, so it's just a torch which runs up into a block, and then that redstone gets powered by that block, turning off the torch, and it'll just do that. And I think it runs 6 times. So as you can see there, it just flashes until it burns out. And here, let me grab some redstone, and so right here we have 2 burnout clocks. Basically they're going to run simultaneously, so I'll put this down, and you see that it runs a lot longer. And then in the new update, I think they changed it so that 2 torches can now make a burnout clock, and then you can do these either way, so it can either be like either side, or they can be on touching sides. And then you can also make them 3 big or 4 big. In the 3 and 4, they run at the same speed, so there's not really an advantage to having 4 torches in there. So I would always just say go with 3, because it used to be that 2 didn't work, so I don't know if they changed that, so now it does. However, if that does work, then you can even save another torch because of using the 2. And it doesn't always work, so if I do it like this, it might not. So earlier when I was setting it up, it won't run unless you start it with the signal like that, so coming out. And I don't know why it was like that, but now that I started it again, it automatically runs either way. So next up we have the upwards power signal, so it'll just transport a signal straight upwards. And so you can either do it with just redstone using half slabs, or you can use torches, and either way it's about the same size. However, with the torches you get to use full blocks, where you have to use half slabs on the other one. So if we come over here and hit this one, you see that all the torches flip their signal, and then this redstone signal comes on, and then this one, it just runs a redstone signal up. Another advantage of using the torches is that this will be at a full power, where this one is only powered as far as the redstone signal. So like this one, I believe it is at a signal strength of 7. Let me check. So it's actually at a signal strength of 9. So you can see that that one's like a red, where this one is almost like an orange. And that just means that this one is stronger powered than this one. And then for another upwards, which I actually built on the wrong lane, you just have a piston with a bunch of slime blocks and then a redstone block at the end. And then when that gets pushed up, it powers this. Now, if you have one like this, you have to make sure that this block underneath the redstone is immovable, so that it doesn't get pulled down with when the piston retracts. All right, and then for the downward one, we just have torches that go down to, so the redstone signal is actually only the block below them. However, the blocks are actually 2 below each one. And then those work the same way as the torches over here, where they turn off and then flip the signal as they go down. And then with the piston version, it's the same way as the other piston, where you just push it down and pull it up. And you don't have to worry about the block being immovable under the redstone at the bottom, because the slime blocks aren't going to interfere with it. And sometimes the pistons are better and sometimes the redstone is better, because if you're working with the pistons and the slime blocks, you have to make sure that everything around those slime blocks is either immovable or you don't have anything there. Where the redstone, you just have to make sure that the redstone lines don't interfere with each other. And now on to the T flip-flop. So basically how this works is it sends a pulse into this piston, which powers this piston, but it first sends the pulse or the power through this block, and it powers this repeater. So it'll actually, this piston will break the signal with and only leave one tick for this redstone repeater, which will then push this piston out and retract it in one tick, which will make it drop this block. So as you can see, it dropped the block, and then if I push it again, it pulls the block back in. And this can be set on any tick, however this one cannot. So if I run it again, you'll see that it pulled the block back with it. So the one on the outside here has to be set to one tick. And then you can also make a T flip-flop using an observer, but you can't do it with a redstone signal, otherwise it just turns it into a regular switch. So it'll push it out, leave it out for a couple seconds, and then pull it back in, which it would be the same as just putting a button next to this piston. So as you can see, it does the same thing. It's just the only difference is this is retracted while it's pushed out, and when using an actual button, the piston is out when it's placed. But as you can see, if we just change a block in front of it, then it works as a T flip-flop. So if you have some kind of, if you're using it as a detector to detect if something is in front of it, then that works well. And that's what I did on my realistic elevator, where it actually detects if the elevator is on the floor or not. And that's how it knows to open the doors. The next one that we have is the pulse extender. So you can either do it with a regular pulse or you can do it with an observer. So this right now is with an observer, and the thing, if you're using an observer, you have to have a repeater behind it set to 2 ticks or more. It can't be at 1 tick, otherwise the pulse won't be long enough for the comparators to pick it up. But as soon as we turn it to 2 ticks, we see that it flips on and then it powers down. And then if we do the same thing with just a button, then you can see that it powers down the exact same. And the reason I always put a repeater right before the pulse extender is so that you get the max length out of your pulse extender. Now, if you want the max length out of any pulse extender, you would want to flip these so that the comparator in front of the repeater is facing away from the repeater, so they're both in the same direction, so that it gets that full 15 going into the back of it. And then the other comparator will just be facing this opposite direction. And then lastly, we have the double piston extender, which is a very simple build. So it's just the redstone comes out through the first one, which as soon as this repeater here powers this piston, it'll push this piston and block forward. And then when this piston is in this position, it'll be powered. So it'll immediately be powered after it's been moved. And then on the retract, it will retract this one first, then it will retract this piston, pulling everything back, and then this one will extend and retract this middle piston to grab this block. So if we watch it again, we see that the first thing that extends is this back piston, and then as soon as it extends so that this piston is in this position, we see that it extends, and then this one retracts first, and then this one retracts, and then this extends and retracts to pick up that block. So I hope this video helped out with getting a more basic understanding of some of the redstone circuits that I use and how to use them in larger scale builds. I hope you enjoyed the video.